Hello, welcome to the Death Battle cast. We are the cast and crew of Death Battle.
Sure.
And we have a special guest today for the first time on the show, writer and researcher Liam Swan.
That's me.
Hello, Liam. So I'm Ben. I'm the voice of Wiz in Death Battle.
I'm Chad. I play Boomstick.
I'm Sam. Right there.
I'm Liam.
Yeah, there you go.
Everyone's favorite person on the internet right now.
Yeah. Everybody loves Liam so much.
Kill him!
Hi, I'm Satan.
And no sponsor for this week's episode, so we're going to just do a quick shout out to RTX, our upcoming event, which only comes up in like a month and a half or so.
Yeah, July 5th through
quick.
7th in Austin, Texas.
It's coming up pretty quick, so if you haven't got tickets to that yet, if you haven't booked a hotel, please do. We'd love to see you guys come out to RTX in Austin on July 5th through 7th. It's going to be really fun. We're going to have a Death Battle panel, as well as a panel for the secret project that was kind of teased a little bit at the beginning of Ben 10 Green Lantern. Not going to say anything about that, but it's really cool. I can't wait to share it with you guys.
Yep, and we got an autograph signing, and we'll be around hanging out and having some fun. So
yes, it's gonna be awesome. We've been doing RTX for a few years now, and it's always a really fun time. So hope to see you guys out there.
Yeah, rtxevent.com.
Yes, rtxevent.com. All right, so reason why everybody's here watching this is, of course, the latest episode of Death Battle that just released. Last week, Ben 10 versus Green Lantern. Our first foray into the Ben 10 character and that kind of Cartoon Network era.
How'd that go?
Well, interesting reactions, to say the least.
I was looking on Wednesday. I was looking at the YouTube. I was looking at it, and I was going like, "Oh wow, the views are going up great. This is awesome." And then I looked at the dislike bar, and I was like, "Oh!"
Yeah. So it's definitely a controversial episode. Probably one of our most controversial. Definitely one of our most controversial episodes in a while.
Yeah,
I don't think
sure.
we've had an episode go below like the 80% like ratio for several years now.
Yeah.
Which I think is a win.
We've shied away from pissing people off too much, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, for a show like Death Battle, like, I got to take that as a win because this show naturally is going to piss some people off at some points.
It's designed.
But yeah, and you know, as obviously there were some reactions to that episode that we have to address here, and we did save the Q&A for this week. This actually worked out great, because we tend to do Q&A like the same week that the episode airs, and for a while now I've wanted to kind of change that to the week afterwards that we're doing right now, so that we would have time to get questions from YouTube, because now we shoot this show while the Death Battle in question is only first exclusive, and I want the YouTube audience to have a voice. So I figured, we should probably move the Q&A to the next week, and we decided to start it with this one. Totally unaware of the fact that there would be so many questions. Yeah. Like, this was decided.
It's a good one to start with.
Yeah. So it kind of works out. And then Liam as well. You were going to come down last week, but ended up not being able to do that and came down this week instead, and it just totally worked out.
Totally worked out.
It wasn't like planned this way. This kind of like landed on our feet pretty well. So actually, Liam, kind of tell us about you.
I'm Liam.
Like, what do you do?
What do I do? I sit in front of my computer and type and look at comic books. No, I'm a writer for Death Battle. I'm a researcher. I joined back in like 2016, I think, and have been researching and writing ever since. Before that, I was like, did the Versus community, like nerd stuff. Spent a lot of time there. And that's the Death Battle side of it. In other stuff, I'm from New York. I'm New York City. And I'm an actor and a bartender in the city.
What a surprise. An actor and
a bartender. Wow.
You never see that.
I graduated from NYU. Oh, so did everyone else.
Just knocking these tropes out. Yeah.
So, I mean, as an actor, like, what are you, what is your goal as an actor? Like, what are you looking for?
Goal. Oh, geez. Yeah, we get this question a lot.
Are you going for the
theater
movie scene,
theater? Well, at this point, because I just graduated, so I'm still figuring everything out. Theater is the stuff it's easier to get into, and there's more of like when you're doing theater, there's more of like a connection with the audience, so it's a kind of visceral and physical in a way that film isn't, because you just have a camera and you're like, hello,
right now,
hi, how's my frame? But yeah, I'm that's a question I'm asking myself too, and just trying to figure it out and see what happens.
The answer is anything.
Yeah, anything.
Right now,
please
anything.
give me work.
Basic
I make
goal,
funny voice
not
for money,
starve.
please.
Like,
Yeah,
that's
yes,
pretty
exactly.
much, yeah.
But yeah, no, you've been part of the research team for a really long time, and then recently, you were killing it, and then we wanted to give you the opportunity to start writing some episodes, and you've been doing an awesome job. So.
Yeah, so outside of Ben 10 Green Lantern, you want to talk a little bit about other episodes you've written?
Yes, I wrote Ultron versus Sigma.
That was the first one, I think.
That was the first one I wrote, and I wrote Mega Man Battle Royale.
Because you're crazy.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that episode.
I think this was like, because when you guys offered like a writing opportunity to write, this was right after I did research for Doctor Strange versus Dr. Fate. I did Dr. Fate, and I wrote like 50 pages of notes. I went through just in case anyone's wondering what the research process is. There was a website called Comic Book DB for comic characters, where you can look up the character, look up all of their appearances in chronological order. And when I do a comic character, I just do that, and I just read all of them.
It's
a lot. Yeah, it's
really arduous. Like that's the same thing. Like doing pretty much any character. Like I remember doing that for Zorro and One Piece and stuff. It's like you just
One Piece.
start at
One Piece is fun.
You look at their chronological thing, and like you just kind of start there, and you just go forward and forward, and then sometimes you have to go back again because you're like, okay, but there's context I need from that clearly happened, but
Exactly.
it's here. Like, and it can be very arduous, but yeah.
Respect threads are a great resource, but they don't have everything, and they usually lack context.
Yes,
Yep.
and we've talked a little bit about our research process before. It is very much a sort of like going to multiple sources, respect threads, blogs, things like that do help. But at the end of the day, it's all to funnel us to the source material to find the full context of what is actually happening in these supposed feats, claimed feats.
Yeah, we never take anything at like fact. Like if we come across like, and this person did blank.
face value.
Even if we see a like screenshot, right? Like
Yeah,
that's what we
exactly.
see all the time. It's like, see, I mean, this person could do this because here he is doing it right now. And then you're like, okay, but then we go and we look it up, and it's like, well, the page before, some god was like, here's this temporary power that you have for one blast or whatever, and it's like, okay, well, there it was. This outside thing came in. So
The only time we ever do that is when it comes to the community death battle here on Death Battle Cast.
Yeah.
Which at the bottom
You can
there,
lie to us all you want.
Well, like at the
mean-
bottom there, we're going to be doing Danny Phantom versus Jake Long at the end of this show, which I mistakenly said last episode that I guess I claimed that all of them were from Cartoon Network. I don't even remember saying that. But I definitely said that, and
Heresy.
people called me out on that because... Yeah, Ben 10's Cartoon Network, Danny Phantom is Nickelodeon, and
We don't
Jake
even
Long
know anything about
is from Disney Channel. So obviously I didn't do my research on those two characters that have nothing to do with the death battle that we just released. But no, I was just generalizing, I think. But either way, yeah, sorry. Thanks for calling me out on that. So we'll be talking about that later on in the show. But right now, let's get into this. So Q&A for Ben 10 versus Green Lantern.
First of all, I love that Liam. Well, couple things. First of all, you were gonna come and have this nice
He's
welcoming episode of like, hey, you've been writing, like, have fun. But now it's like, here, defend yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like a dissertation defense, like pretty much.
And I love that you
really.
came with a pamphlet.
Yeah.
Ben gave me the pamphlet, but I did write this
I
all
did
up.
send you the questions that we were going to do.
I finished it up at 2 a.m. last night.
Oh my gosh.
All right.
For those
were
last
working
couple of
for that.
comic scans.
Let's get in. 'Cause
Okay.
I'm curious about this one, having like almost nothing to do with this episode.
Yeah.
I'm just like, now I get to sit back with popcorn and be like, ooh.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I do want to say, people might jump on Liam saying like, Liam, did the character an injustice or something like that. And it's not just him working on this episode. Like, as a showrunner, it is my job to kind of be able to understand what the audience is going to expect and what people want to see out of an episode. And regardless of who wins and loses a death battle, I still always want to do a character justice. So if you do think that Ben was not done justice in the episode, like, there's only so much that research is going to be able to fix that. And that's a problem that we can definitely take into account for future episodes, for sure.
It's a careful balance between representing a fight, how it would go, and
Yes.
how what is a more entertaining way of showing that.
Yes.
Because
Yeah, it's Death Battle's a very complicated project. So I don't know. Maybe we could bring Ben 10 back later and try to represent him in a different way. But either way, we do have reasons for why we did what we did.
Yeah.
And it is entirely possible that some people's issues with it is the ending itself of the fight and just the killing blow, which Yeah, spoilers, by the way. We are going to be talking about the entire episode, including the ending, and how Green Lantern is the victor here. Okay. And yes, we have seen all of your questions, all of your things that you have been sending us. We do see that stuff. So let's go ahead and get into the questions. So the first one that I've got is, why didn't you use more of Ben's aliens in the fight? You even mentioned comparing Hal to certain aliens in the recap that never showed up in the fight. And I can kind of take this one a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
This is generally time.
Money.
Like, the animation, we've talked about it before, but the animated battle is always this kind of like weird balance between representing our research and also making something very entertaining and fun to watch. And this goes to the representing part of the representing the characters the way we think people want to see them. I was under the opinion that people would want to see a lot of the classic aliens, a lot of the aliens that people remember from their childhood, and maybe not necessarily some of the more obscure aliens later. Definitely some of that needed to be incorporated, but like I believed we needed to have forearms, even though forearms wasn't like integral to the argument. We needed to have.
Well, I mean, to be fair, 99.9% of the other aliens are completely trivialized by Alien X, anyways, right? Like
to a certain extent, yeah. I mean, there are some arguments for other aliens, which we'll get to, but going into this fight, I wanted to have aliens that people would recognize and wanted to see in the fight, just Ben 10 fans. At least that's what I thought people would want to see. And also, it was a very complicated episode to make in terms of animation and budget and a lot of custom artwork.
Yeah.
So there was no way we were going to have, like 20 aliens up here. It just was impossible for our script. I'm actually surprised and extremely impressed by our animation team that we were able to get as many into the fight as we did.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit, that Way Big fight.
Yeah.
It's very brief, but like the whole Way Big fight with the giant boxing gloves and Way Big in the city, like that's all hand animated. It's
I love that
hand
part.
keyed. Like it's so. Luis and his team did such a good job putting that together.
It's one of those
and
things
I have
where
to hand it to them.
as a writer, you're like, this is how I'm imagining it, but I wonder what it'll actually look like. And it was like, oh, Luis went into my brain and took the image and put it there. It was like, that's a cool ability that he has, superpower.
He's really good.
So that was kind of the reason behind the aliens that we picked. Maybe it would have been better if we had shown the specific things that we talked about in the recap, but at the same time, there's this kind of balance that I want to do with Death Battle where we don't necessarily need to show everything that we talk about in the recap in the fight because we can explain it in the recap regardless.
Yeah, right.
So we didn't need to see, like Ben 10's like tougher aliens surviving a blast from Green Lantern because we can just explain that and then focus on having more fun fight.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I can understand the argument of including that in the fight to present an example.
Yep.
But
There's
that's the general idea.
There's just so much to cover.
Yeah. And especially with a character like Ben 10 who has literally a
usually-
million aliens.
There's
And
no
like-
way
and
you're
like,
gonna make everybody happy.
As a writer, like I personally would have loved to have a fight with every single one of Ben's aliens and then have a recap covering like a comparison between Hal and every single one of his aliens. But it's
you want an hour-long
it's,
episode?
it's more of like I
Well
try to
more
make it
than an
generalized, especially because, the one that really matters here is Alien X. For reasons that we'll get into.
Yes.
Very soon.
Well, let's go ahead and talk about second question. You focused a lot on Alien X in this episode, but what
there we
about
go.
other aliens? Why couldn't, for example, Upgrade take control of or destroy Hal's ring? And it looks like you might actually have some comic book panels you want to show.
I do. I brought these up specifically.
Okay.
So Upgrade is a good example.
So what the Upgrade alien?
Upgrade
what is
is a galvanic mechamorph. I hope I'm saying that right. And he can essentially possess technology and upgrade it. And kind of like he can upgrade a cannon into a super laser cannon, and it's a better cannon. Stuff like that. And he could hack stuff. So the argument is, couldn't Upgrade hack into Hal's ring? Well, Hal actually has a force field that covers him at all times, and in the event of danger, the ring will actually act automatically and shield him, or just pull him out of harm's way. And Dr. Manhattan actually once tried to understand a Green Lantern power ring and struggled to. This is going to be image 2A, Gerardo.
Thanks, Gerardo.
So he does destroy the ring, but he doesn't fully understand how it works. He struggles to. To give you context,
He literally says, "I find it difficult
I
to
find it
affect," and
difficult.
this is like God man,
Yes,
basically.
Dr. Manhattan in DC is a lot more powerful than Dr. Manhattan in Watchmen. Dr. Manhattan in DC is the way DC Comics works is that, you know, if you are on a higher dimensional level than someone, you're like infinitely more powerful. Like if me compared to a drawing, that's a 3-dimensional human versus a 2-dimensional. That's the concept. And Dr. Manhattan is on a higher dimensional level than Mr. Mxyzptlk, who's a 5-dimensional imp who can grasp multiverses like they're footballs.
Did you say that name right?
Mr. Mxyzptlk, yeah.
Holy shit! How you say
That's
it?
how you say it. I have my nerd card. All I have to do is read Lord of the Rings, and I'm like 100% elder nerd.
I just remember the episode. It was like a Batman animated series or something, and like I remember it was voiced by
Gilbert Godfrey.
And it's Mixel Spit Lick is what he would do. I remember, but that's apparently wrong.
Yeah, it's Mxyzptlk.
Oh my god.
Probably.
Right.
I don't know how many people actually say it. You just have to kind of infer that, but I think that's generally the idea.
Anyway, so he's on a whole nother level.
Yeah.
And he can't understand the ring.
Another alien brought up, or 2 aliens brought up, are feedback and chromostone, because Hal produces energy from his ring, so couldn't feedback or chromostone absorb that. Yes, they could, but Hal can actually absorb energy that's been taken out of his ring back into his ring.
Of course he can.
Yeah,
Why not?
Give me image 2C. Plus, like, okay, yeah, feedback could absorb some of his energy, but then Hal has, the ring allows him more than just shooting green lasers. Literally, and I'm taking this as an almost direct quote, there's from a comic called Green Lantern, The Last Will and Testament of Hal Jordan. Hal explains that the ring can actually do anything and everything. It turns imagination into a reality.
Yes.
The point of it is that it's not just like a thing that shoots like green constructs. It is a device that if you ask it to do something, it'll just do it. And the details aren't super important. And this is something that's consistent from, you know, the beginning of Green Lantern's run in the 60s, pre-crisis stuff, all the way till now. Like Grant Morrison went in an interview about his new miniseries, and he said, yeah, I really wanted to explore the concept of a ring as something that is a magic wishing ring. So I think that's a really big thing, because it's anything Ben can do, Hal can also do. He's done like almost everything in his comics. Like if you look at like a really in-depth respect for Green Lantern, he does like everything. He shrinks down to the size of an atom. He duplicates himself. He like removes his soul and puts it back into his body.
Yeah.
Just anything. So
we were talking earlier, just before we started streaming, about how like the concept of the Green Lantern Corps is really cool, but like I couldn't really get into it because it just got too big and cosmic and weird for me, and that's very much why. Like the idea that this ring can do literally fucking anything is just like, God, come on.
Yeah.
Can we
get
tone
some
it
limits in
down
here?
a little bit?
I think that's why writers focused more on the green constructs, is because it's a nice way to limit their abilities, and it gives them gives the artists, I guess, like a physical thing to represent rather than like.
Was there one other alien you wanted to talk about?
Oh yeah, Clockwork. That's another big one. Why couldn't Clockwork follow him through time or do stuff? Well, Clockwork has really great time hacks stuff, and Hal can do all of it as well, like slow down time, go forward in time, go backward in time, stop time, do all of that. And Clockwork himself isn't very physically impressive, so he's not as fast or tough enough to survive. If you turn into Clockwork, Hal would just go, you know, faster than he could react. And that's kind of a consistent thing with Hal, is that the problem with most of Ben's aliens is that they lack the physical stats to compete with the Green Lantern. So they might have great hacks, but Hal can match all their hacks. And can move at 1.5 quintillion times the speed of light.
I just want to point out that you haven't looked at your notes at all. You've just been
Other
talking
than
about
to
this.
reference the image name.
This is
you just
really
know this.
ingrained. I did my research, and I should add that 1.5 quintillion times is on the lower end of speeds you'll see for DC characters like this. As absurd as that sounds, this shit happens all the time.
Well, actually, this is a great transition, because the next question is, you compared Hal's speed to Accelerate, but shouldn't you have used Ben's fastest alien, Jet Ray?
Jet
Is
Ray.
Hal faster than Jet Ray?
Kind of. So the reason why we used Accelerate is two-part. One, as a writer, I figured more people would be familiar with Accelerate.
That goes back to what I was talking about, representing the character.
They'd go, oh, he's the speed alien. But it's true, he has other speed aliens, and Jet Ray is one of them. But it's a little unclear. Let me explain. So Jet Ray is faster in the sense that he can cross like these vast cosmic distances faster than Accelerate can. But he does so by entering hyperspace, which is something that he does. He flies, he accelerates to a certain speed, and then he can enter hyperspace. He opens a portal, goes through, and pops out wherever he wants to at, some other planet. This is in Ben 10, it's Ultimate Alien Eye of the Beholder, where he does this. And I think is what people...
I saw this in your notes. I know you're not bullshitting because this is in your notes.
Yeah.
But you're not even looking at it. You just know.
Yeah.
So it's not like Star Wars hyperspace where they're traveling.
They're traveling,
at light
no.
speed.
It's more like Star Trek Wormhole, where they
Exactly.
shot out a different spot.
Yes,
Except
and-
he knows where he's going.
And so it's not something that would really apply. So the reason why we look at travel speed, this is a thing that comes up a lot. We're like, travel speed versus combat speed. The reason why we look at travel speed is that you can apply it to combat speed. So if I'm like Green Lantern and I'm flying to a planet at the other end of the universe, I need to know when to stop flying so that I don't smash into that planet at the other end of the universe. And if I'm stopping somewhere in the atmosphere of that planet...
I think something like that is like Doctor Strange is somebody who can just like make a portal. That
Yeah.
doesn't make him that fast.
Yeah. And
He's using a portal. It's like it's a different type of thing.
Right,
Like, sure,
but
he can
but he-
get to Earth in half a second.
Right, but he's talking about that you have to have like the ability to think and
yeah.
react to stop yourself.
yeah. And
Which we talk about in the episode when Hal is piloting a ship
Yeah.
at light speed or something like that, and
faster
he's
than
reacting.
that. He travels to Oa, the center of the universe, from I believe it's Earth. So that's like billions to trillions of times the speed of light if I'm going to like estimate it in my head right now. And he does that. He reacts to stuff. He steers the ship out of the way of planets and stars without the ring on. And when Jet Ray enters hyperspace, look, he's never done that in a fight to my knowledge. So it matters that it's combat applicable rather than just a way of getting from point A to point B. And that planet, we don't know where that planet was. So people were saying, oh, well, Jet Ray can also reach the other end of the universe that fast. And it's like, there was nothing stating when I watched that episode that planet was at the other end of the universe.
Nobody specifically
Right.
says that you're on
No.
this end of the universe. We got to get to this end of the universe,
Right,
et cetera.
and degree matters. So like both characters are faster than light. 5 times faster than light and 5 billion times faster than light. You're both faster than light, but one is 1 billion times faster than the other.
Yeah.
So degree matters essentially, and I don't think there's anything saying that he's as fast as Hal.
Well, okay, and before we get into Alien X, there's one more question about other aliens. You said Ben could only have one alien at a time, but couldn't he use multiple aliens by multiplying himself with Echo Echo? We did talk about the morphing into two aliens a little bit in a tab, but this is specifically Echo Echo, which I believe is the alien that like multiplies itself.
Yeah, he has a couple. So this is in the episode, I think it's called Duped, and I don't know if it's, let's take a look at the notes.
It's got to get to his notes for the first time.
I didn't say. So I believe the episode is called Duped, and it's from either Ultimate Alien or Alien Force. And what Ben does in that,
I'm looking up right now.
Yeah, it's it's the kind of cartoon episode where it's like, I need to be in multiple places at once. How am I going to do that? It's that cartoon episode.
Right.
And so what he does
Ultimate
is
Alien, yep,
he
you're
switches
right.
into the 3 Echo Echoes, and then they switch back into Ben's, and they go do those things. But there's a reason why he never does this anymore. It's because it almost got him killed at the end of the episode. What it did was it split his personality into like 3 different Bens. So there was like the logical Ben or the asshole Ben. I forget exactly what it was. And each of them could transform into a separate alien, but they weren't able to coordinate the same way that a single Ben could, and they ended up getting in each other's ways, and they ended up almost losing. And so at the end, Ben realizes the best strategy is to just be one Ben, and he merges and fights as one alien. So that's why that wasn't included, is because in the episode itself, it was something that was not optimal. And in this instance, against somebody that is that much faster and that much more powerful, I don't think Ben would rely on a strategy that has almost got him killed or injured. I forget what the villain was trying to do.
So it's kind of a non-factor.
It was a non-factor, exactly. Yeah,
They proved in that episode that that's a less effective way to fight.
exactly.
Yes. Okay, so now we're getting into some of the Alien X questions. And Alien X is definitely, when we were going through the research, even going into this, like when we first started, like I wasn't super familiar with Ben 10. Even I knew that like Alien X was going to be a major factor this whole fight.
Yeah.
That's why we went with Green Lantern rather than Beast Boy, just because what the fuck is Beast Boy supposed to do against Alien X?
I'm sure he scales to some planet level shit. Like
I mean,
knowing comics, like Beast Boy's
Yeah.
elephant form survived a hit from
my
Trigon.
God.
You know?
He probably does have some like alien elephant that he transforms
Yeah,
into that can shoot a
some
Death Star laser
shit.
or something. And, like, wrap around.
I'm pretty sure he
time
would
or
still
something.
get wrecked by Alien X though.
Yeah, probably. So this question is the creators of Ben 10. Multiple different creators, I believe, creators, artists, etc., have said that Alien X is a multiversal being. Why was this not mentioned, and why did this not come into play?
So everyone that's bringing this up is referencing this particular blog, this Man of Action blog, and that's going to be Image 5B, Gerardo. It's funny because they say the exact opposite of that. They say that celestial sapiens, the quote is, the answer is the same for omniversal and timeline destruction in regards to celestial sapiens being able to prevent those things. If the celestial sapiens, plural, were aware that either was coming and formed a group that could agree in advance to bond their power, they would survive. If they were not aware of the impending threat of destruction, they would not be able to agree in advance and would be undone by either phenomenon. So celestial sapiens can, if they know ahead of time, can form a group and stave off something like multiversal destruction. But if they don't, and there's only one of them, like in the case of Alien X, they can't. Explicitly, they can't. And now, Alien X, Ben's aliens are stated to be like prime versions of their species. Like, Alien X is like the biggest, baddest celestial sapien.
The best
there
a
ever is.
celestial sapien can be.
Yeah, but there's nothing in canon that suggests that he could be full-on multiversal. He could jump a tier from universal to multiversal. So that's why that was not included. And again, this is Word of God, and we only do Word of God stuff if it like matches something or it confirms or explains something that happens in canon. But in this case, it's very direct, and everyone's bringing this up as evidence that Alien X is multiversal. I'm kind of like, did you read it?
Well, yeah, to that degree, because there's also the quote from, I believe, an artist who said that he could, like...
In 6 thoughts.
In 6 thoughts, he
Yeah.
could bend the multiverse or whatever, and that's obviously a joke to a degree. I think we have that in a tab.
Yeah, the way it's framed, I think the first question is, can you destroy a universe? Yeah, he could do it in a thought. Can you destroy a multiverse? He could do it, but take him 6 thoughts. It's something like that. The way I personally read it is that it came off like a joke, but also
Same
it's
here.
not something that's supported in canon, so we wouldn't really consider it too heavily.
Exactly. The word of God is a thing that comes up every so often. Not with a lot of characters, but like data books are one thing, because a data book is written to be a canon source of information that can apply to the story.
Yeah.
But when you have an interview with a creator and they're just kind of talking with somebody and that person like presents a question and the creator just kind of says an answer, like that's off the fly. That's just there's more often than not, the writer doesn't really care what he's saying, whether or not that's canon or fact.
Ed Boon made a couple of statements in some interview that everyone in the community is like talking about now. But it's like, how much was Ed Boon like really like concerned about the cosmology of
Yeah,
Right, and, like,
I could
it's
say
like
right
two-
now that Wiz has the power to punch a planet apart.
We did
It's
this.
not gonna happen.
We did this
remember
at
that.
a panel because people asked and we were talking about this specific thing, and then it was like the age-old question, who would win between Wiz and Boomstick? And I'm like, oh, clearly Boomstick. And I was like, because I can just make up whatever I want for him. Like, I was like, he has an anti-wizard gun. Like,
You guys had a Twitter exchange, and I actually screenshotted that stuff for when we do eventually.
Are you
do Wiz
serious?
versus Boomstick.
You're
Like, I know
dedicated, for sure.
it's word of God, guys, but this is important. These tweets.
yeah, but and there's a lot of times I can't tell you like how many like when you're put on the spot, like people ask questions about the character Boomstick or something like that, and like I'm an entertainer, so like I'll usually try and say something entertaining or fun, and like
there's a lot that's hard to take, especially because sometimes it's directly contradicted by the show in other cases and stuff like that. Like I know there was a lot of stuff involving, I want to say his name's Rocky something that wrote God, no, not Rocky Balboa. He wrote the one JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and like doing that
Hiko
fight.
Araki.
Doing that fight. It was like there was a lot of stuff. He would say something, or there would be a data book that had like a stat chart for like any given stand, and it was like just did not add up
a lot,
with the show. Yeah, like I think Star Platinum is supposed to be one of the slower stands, and then you're like, what are you talking about? Like he's beating the fastest stands. So it's like sometimes like, and keep in mind I researched that like 2 years ago, so my memory's foggy. But yeah, there's some of that stuff where it is also, it gets really confusing, and it's like, what do we take here? Do we take the data book that's very old, or do we take the newest stuff from the, whatever canon material you have, whether we show or manga? And,
And everyone
Yeah.
knows I'm a huge JoJo fan, so I'm like,
That was still probably one of my favorite episodes to
Oh,
research.
absolutely.
You were
That was
having a
awesome.
blast just
That was
watching
really good.
JoJo.
Yeah,
all the-
yeah. Well, Noel did most of JoJo. I did
that's
a lot
right.
of
You
the
were doing,
Kenshiro. I did
Kenshiro.
Fist of the North Star, which is like one of those old ones that you
Yeah.
never really get around to watching, and then you watch it. Like that show's so fucking ridiculous. And like nothing
In
is
a really
great-
good way.
Yeah.
yeah. Like nothing has affected me, like as far as like gotten me into like a weird subsect of meme culture more than that fight. Like researching both
Yeah.
sides. Like JoJo and Kenshiro memes are so strong.
so
like,
good.
Those sub communities are really funny.
there's a subreddit called Shitpost Crusaders, which is a JoJo subreddit, and it's so good. Watching both those series back and forth, like they complement each other because it's
Yeah.
like one's really, really weird and the other one's really, really violent, and they like switch back and forth. Creates an interesting mental space.
Anyway, getting back on topic, we're definitely going longer on this than we typically do, but obviously this episode kind of warrants it. Okay, so next question. The energy feedback from the Omnitrix is meant to stop anybody from removing it. Wouldn't Hal cutting Ben's arm off count and activate the feedback to defend Ben? Basically, this very much goes into the animation, but also just in general. Why were the scissors able to cut off his arm?
This one is gonna have to. I'm gonna have to look at my notes for this one because there's a lot.
Okay.
So Ben. What classifies as something that triggers the watch is a little unclear. It's been triggered when people have tried to remove the Omnitrix, like itself, from Ben's wrist.
Which we do show at the beginning of the
Which
fight.
we do, exactly. We show the clip of Vilgax trying to do that. But it's not clear if like removing a body part is what causes it, or any kind of bodily injury. Because if you can extend that concept to would the energy pulse activate if Ben has been injured at all? Well, Ben's been injured like tons of times in the show. It's part of the show. And the energy pulse doesn't usually activate unless it's the watch itself being removed. So a body part, for instance. There's in the season 1 finale of the original series called Secrets, Vilgax surrounds the Omnitrix in a huge machine and then gets out a big laser sword to cut his arm off to do exactly that. And if Hal was aware of the energy pulse, he could just replicate that kind of thing with a construct and then remove Ben's arm. Let's see what else I have written down. Oh yeah, the energy pulse itself is not super powerful. It is powerful if it's left to charge over like a series of a few days. It'll reach enough power to destroy a universe, but
Not super powerful, just powerful enough to destroy you.
Just that powerful.
That's one of the episodes where it like keeps continuously charging up, and
Yeah.
like they're worried about.
It's in
Well,
one of
that's
the-
when
it's
Ben
one of the movies.
accidentally sets it to
Yeah.
self-destruct or whatever. But
And,
the energy pulse, is that the same thing or a different thing? Or kind of both?
It's the same. It's the same kind of like it comes from the Omnitrix's power source. So the energy pulse isn't that powerful. It blows people back a few meters, but that's nothing compared to what Green Lantern can do. So at worst, even if it did activate, he could just be like, no, remove.
just power through it.
Just
kind of
power
thing.
through it, exactly. It's also to bring up a lot of the comments that I've seen were scissors faster than Big Bang, because the watch was able to react to the Big Bang, and this is due to the failsafe as well, which we'll get into. But it's worth mentioning. It's worth finding out the speed of the Omnitrix's AI because its ability to react to threats is determined by its AI. So how fast is the Big Bang? Well, it's not really clear. Cosmic inflation, which happens in the first 10 to the negative 30th second of the universe's lifespan, it expanded really fast and then it slowed down. What we can do is we can look at that episode. The episode is A New Dawn. It's from Omniverse, where when the Nylarg goes off and creates a universe, it after about 6 seconds or so, you can start to see galaxies form. So if you take the distance between us and, say, the Andromeda Galaxy, what's the distance between galaxies, and apply that to the speed, that'd be about 13 trillion times the speed of light for the propagation of the Big Bang. Compared to Hal's speed, that's about 100,000 times slower, because Hal was able to fly across the universe at 1.5 quintillion times the speed of light. And in terms of specific constructs, like how fast do Hal's constructs move, he was once able to create these little drones which flew and searched the entire universe for other Green Lanterns. So they searched the entire volume of the universe in the span of a heartbeat, which is pretty familiar. May sound familiar to the Mega Man.exe calc, which was
crazy.
It's the same kind of feat, except he does it even faster. I got about 400 novemdecillion times the speed of light, which is
Holy
a
shit.
4 followed by 60 zeros, and about 10 to the 49th times faster than the Omnitrix could react. This doesn't account for the number of drones that he had, so he had a couple, but it also doesn't account for the fact that DC's universe is much larger. That would inflate the volume by a lot. So yeah, when people are asking if scissors are faster than Big Bang, yes. Hal's scissors are faster than Big Bang. As absurd and ridiculous as that is, yes, scissors faster than Big Bang.
I do think, to a degree, maybe this wouldn't have affected the reaction that much, but I do think we might have had a more positive reaction if we did end it with just like a big explosion.
Yes.
Destroy the whole universe,
Yeah,
and that takes
absolutely.
out Ben
Yeah,
as well.
and I think what does it for a lot of people is the little comedic pause where it's like,
Yeah.
snip, right? And so they're like, we could have defended itself in there.
That might be
You know?
purely just animation for the sake of entertainment, as opposed to showcasing Hal's raw power over Ben 10 in that regard. And that kind of gets into an area of the show where it's difficult for us to really balance sometimes, because like we've already had 3 giant explosive deaths this season.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't really want to do another one, and
Right.
Liam came up with a creative way to end it. I'm like, creative deaths, creative endings to these fights are always fun. So let's go ahead and do a creative way to end it, as opposed to just another big explosion.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Actually, I would love to hear from you guys what you think. Is it better? Do you personally think it's better for us to pursue creative endings to fights, or to really have the endings showcase the absolute greatest power level that these characters have?
Yeah.
Is it better to have every other fight end in a giant explosion just to better represent the matchup itself, or to create an ending that is more fun and creative? Because I can see the argument for both.
Right, yeah.
And we tried to do a balance of both, but
So we do a Goku versus Roshi, or a Goku versus literally anyone else in the show? Because in Goku versus Roshi outthinks
you mean
him.
Goku
In-
versus Roshi?
Yeah, in Jackie Chun. I mean Jackie Chun.
Oh, I thought you were referring to Roshi versus Dry, and I was like,
Oh, no, what?
from the actual show Dragon Ball.
Yeah,
Sure,
yeah.
yeah.
A creative, one character uses their abilities creatively and outthinks the other, or something that's
Yeah.
one person's foot.
And there's an understandable argument for both. So
Yeah.
I am curious to see what you guys have to say.
and
about
I'd like
that.
to know as a writer, too.
Hashtag DeathBattleCast on Twitter would probably be the easiest way to let us know.
And
I'm
I mean-
definitely going to check on that, because
In the
this
comments.
is really
There's-
interesting to me.
There
or
is
comments.
something to be said. Is that's the same reason not every Green Lantern comic starts with him just going I'll just go back in time and stop at the start of this problem. It's there's no entertaining narrative to the concept of not, and as writers, it's not fun to really most fights would just be big explosion over.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily fun for the writer, the viewer, anyone involved in most cases, because it would be just kind of meh.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
exactly.
and that's
Well-
the exact same reason comic books don't every DC comic book doesn't start with the Flash or Superman being I'll solve the problem in an attosecond.
Yeah.
Comic over.
See ya.
We got half a page. And that's
Right. Yeah.
that's it's because it's more entertaining with a real narrative and some stakes and etc.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Next question.
So next question. If Batman could remove the ring from Hal's finger, why couldn't Ben? Since Hal can't remove the Omnitrix, doesn't this give Hal a huge weakness? And I do want to point out that was the Batman removing it from his finger was during a point where Hal was not ready for battle. It was not a combat scenario. He literally just met Batman and was fanboying over him.
This is inexperienced early Hal.
Yeah. So that doesn't necessarily translate. Does that ever really happen to Hal? You even mentioned earlier that he's got a defense against that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's happened in the comics, because that's such a cheeky way to disarm Green Lantern is, oh, you remove the ring, but
What
no,
will he do?
Yeah, what will he do now? Like Dr. Fate with the helmet, but no, that generally does not happen. He has a force field that surrounds his body, and the ring. Oh, thank you. He has a force field that surrounds his body at all times, so it would only really happen if he's caught unaware. Or not prepared for a fight. It's not
and I assume by someone in that Batman scenario, he's not threatened or worried about that. It's a familial thing where it's oh, hey, it's Batman. He's on my side.
Exactly.
Not worried.
He
It's
didn't care.
if he was fighting Batman, that would not happen.
It's also Batman. Batman's a master of sleight of hand, and Batman has feats in comics that don't make any sense, and it's just like it's Batman.
None
Like,
at all. Yeah.
He kicked the Spectre. That's like the funniest one. The Spectre like is like a multiversal god. Being.
Yeah.
It's like
Dodges
okay.
Darkseid's Omega beams.
yeah, it's
things
like
that.
doesn't make okay.
Batman is superhuman for some reason.
Yeah.
Like, he fell into a vat of superhuman fluid, Captain America serum at some point.
Yeah.
And it just happened off screen and nobody explains it.
Yeah.
Like, something crazy happened.
Yeah, back in the day, we wanted to do a desk gov that was explaining how superhuman Batman actually is.
Yeah.
Because like he survives and does so many things that are very clearly superhuman that it's like kind of ludicrous to still consider him as like, no, he's just like a strong Olympian.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
Like, yeah, that's fucking bullshit.
Even like
no, he's not. Like,
even like peak human comic book characters, like okay, he can run as fast as Usain Bolt and also lift as much as the world like champion heavy lifter.
yeah,
It's like
he
you can't
like,
do
hold
both of those
his-
things.
He like holds his breath for like 8 minutes.
Yeah.
in one comic. It's like that's
He
not a
survived
thing
out in
you do.
space.
Yeah, like no, this doesn't.
yeah.
It doesn't work like that. No, like it's stupid. He went to like hell with Wonder Woman and fought for like 100 years. Like he's just so much shit where you're like, no, that's not like you're not just a dude anymore. Like stop it. Like
All right. Well, so next question. You said Hal's ring has a time limit while the Omnitrix does not. This means that Hal would eventually lose regardless, right?
That only works if the two characters are both like perfectly even. So if we have two characters that are even in every regard, one cannot kill the other, and one has a weakness like a 24-hour time limit, then yeah, in that case. But Hal has most of the advantages in the fight, even against Alien X. I mean, we mentioned his speed. He would be able to kill Ben or Alien X far quicker than 24 hours
well,
would pass.
I mean, one of the things is like, oh, Alien X could erase Hal in a single blink of an eye, and it's like, well, yeah, think about how long a blink of an eye is when you're talking about somebody that goes trillions of times the speed of light. Like
yeah.
a blink of the eye is rather fucking slow, and Hal can do a shit ton in that time frame to stop it. So
it's also worth mentioning that Alien X, because people are bringing that up a lot too. Alien X actually has never erased anyone from reality. This is a statement about celestial sapiens in general from Kevin. He says they could blink and you'd be gone. So how he actually does it is a little unclear. In the animation, it was a slow fade just for a dramatic effect, like slow death and then punctuate by "no, you can't." Like that's just the idea behind it. If if Alien X tried to erase Hal instantly, it would fail instantly. Green Lantern power rings have defended against the Crisis on Infinite Earths, which was the multiverse, like universes being erased and then eventually the multiverse being erased or remade, merged into one. So it wouldn't work. That applies to his ring too.
Yeah. And that's, again, goes back to presentation, representation versus the actual statistics.
Exactly.
Versus the animation. But, okay, so next is, we're almost done. I know we're like almost like 40, 50-something minutes.
Well,
into
are
this.
we?
So, yeah.
Yep.
We've been going quite a ways. We started a little late, so it's okay. Let's see. The Omnitrix has a failsafe that forces Ben to instantly transform into any alien he needs to survive and thus won't let him die. This even worked against a Big Bang. Why didn't it do that to stop Hal from killing him? We kind of already covered that, though.
Yeah, the failsafe also isn't perfect or consistent.
well, when it runs at the speed of the AI of the
Yeah.
Omnitrix,
Yeah.
which is slower than Hal.
I think we've generally covered that question.
Sure.
So the next one, there seems okay. So this isn't per se a question. This is something that you brought to me earlier today. So there seems to be some misconceptions about Green Lantern's time travel abilities.
Yes.
Like the idea that he loses his memory when he travels through time. So you had a couple pointers that you wanted to mention on that.
Yeah, a lot of claims being made. One of them is that Hal can't travel back in time. He has traveled back in time. Green Lantern number 137. That's M1 Gerardo.
Oh boy. I don't know if we've ever gotten this.
I know.
This
in-depth
detailed.
with
I can.
Q&A.
I'll just reference the comics from now on, and you guys can look them up. So yeah, he can travel back in time.
We can bring up the images as you talk.
Sure. Yeah. Hal. There's also one where it's like Hal can only travel back in time. Thank you. Sorry. Hal can only travel back in time if he's already first traveled forward in time, and then he can only travel back in time to when he left.
So that's the claim.
Yeah, that's the claim.
Which is kind of a strange claim.
No, there's nothing stating that that's like a rule for him. And in fact, other Green Lanterns have shown to be able to do that. Green Lantern Quarterly number 2, image M3, Jarda. Here's a Green Lantern asking his ring to send him back in time an hour. Now, the ring doesn't do it because the problem he's trying to solve is that he wants an extra hour of charge for his ring because his 24 hours is almost up. And the ring says, well, relative to, the the ring's time, it'll still have been 24 hours. That's not a way to fix that.
Because the ring still travels through time.
Yeah.
It's not changing
It's
the ring's
exactly.
charge.
So he can still do that. It's just not, they wouldn't solve his problem. There's also something that says time traveling erases Hal's memory. Actually, the time ray that the people from the 58th century that bring him back and forward in time.
The time ray
From the 50th century.
That's what erases his memories. M4 Gerardo. Chairman Desor states, he says, our method of time travel causes an individual's memory to be completely erased. Hal has since then traveled, or even before that, has traveled forward and backward to that century without his memories being erased if he did it himself with his ring. So effectively the ring can do anything. Like, it's been stated it can do anything, and it's shown all the different kinds of time travel, so it can time travel effectively infinitely.
Still talking about time travel. The last main question is the Sodabro Effect. The Sodabro Effect means Alien X would perceive Hal going back in time and then follow him back in time. Why didn't this affect the fight? This is a thing from Ben 10, I believe, that universe.
The Sodabro Effect. I'll explain. So what the Sodabro Effect is that when someone travels through time, or the claim is that when someone travels through time, it creates a ripple effect, and that can be detected by other time travel users. There's a couple of problems with allowing Ben to utilize that. First off, there's no real indication that Ben actually knows about the Sodabro Effect. In the clip that everyone's kind of sharing around, it looks like Professor Paradox, who's like Doctor Who, is explaining the Sodabro Effect to Ben. That's actually not Ben. That's an alternate timeline Ben called No Watch Ben. Ben... At that time,
there are a lot of timeline shenanigans in Ben 10.
Yeah,
because that's a who's the Ben 100 or whatever. There's the older
Ben 10,000.
Ben
He's from the
10,000.
future.
Yeah, he's in the future. Yeah.
Ben was actually dead at that time. He wasn't around to hear about that. To add on to that, Paradox specifically brings it up, the Sodabro Effect, because he's afraid that Eon, who is another alternate timeline version of Ben, could detect it if No Watch Ben uses Clockwork to affect time. So it's specifically could one Ben recognize another Ben doing stuff in time? Because throughout that entire episode, Ben and Paradox are traveling through time without Eon or Vilgax knowing about it. So the Sodabro Effect was a little more specific to the two Bens talking. Or the two Bens.
So is it kind of like how in Avengers Endgame, not getting into spoilers, but there's two nebulas and they kind of interact with each other?
Well, they're on the same network.
They're on the same network. That's kind of the Sodabro Effect.
As far as I'm aware, the Sodabro Effect is brought up once in one line that Paradox uses. So it's how it works is not totally clear.
Well, I would even assume, because it says there's a ripple in time. Like, that ripple from when Hal goes back would take some fraction of time to make its way to Alien X, and in that fraction of time, he can most likely kill him.
Even if
we can
utilize
recut
that.
part of the episode where we just take out all the frames in between that, and it's just like thought and then arm off.
Yeah.
And that's literally there is 0 point of time where there's a reaction in it, and that would be much more boring.
Yeah.
But if you want to see it like that,
Also,
go ahead and put it on Twitter.
Can we get the Wi-Fi strength on Nebula's network? That's
Yes,
gotta be
seriously.
fucking nuts, dude.
What?
When that happened, that was the only part of Endgame that I
5G,
rolled my
bro.
eyes at so hard.
That's the same. Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, so very thorough answers. Holy shit!
And there's more too, in case anybody wants to know.
Well, you mentioned that another Ben had died, and even we've already
Ben
talked
Prime
about
had
the
died.
failsafe. I still
Yeah.
see people in the chat talking about the failsafe, but
Yeah.
there is that quote near one of the end of the seasons where Ben says that the Omnitrix will not let him die.
Yeah, and I can
But
talk
there
about that.
have been occasions where Ben's in timelines with the Omnitrix have died.
And so Ben in that instance was killed by the Chronosapien time bomb. Now I brought that up to somebody and said the failsafe didn't protect it from that. He just died. And someone brought up, well, maybe he doesn't have an alien that could protect against something like the Chronosapien time bomb. Except he does. He has an alien called Clockwork, which is a Chronosapien, which is what No Watch Ben transforms into at the end of the episode to stop the Chronosapien time bomb before it kills all the other Bens, or something like that. He uses it to stop the Chronosapien time bomb. So Ben had the perfect alien to stop the Chronosapien time bomb. Failsafe did not activate. He still died. And even if we assume that it had no problems, the failsafe has only appeared once in the last episode of the show and saved him once, despite him being in mortal danger tons of times throughout the show's history. So adding all of that together and the fact that Hal would be too fast for it to react to him, that's why the failsafe didn't save him. In short and long.
Well, all right. That kind of ends my list of questions here. Is there anything in your notes that you wanted to mention?
Just a really brief. I think one of the issues that people brought up in the last page is that Hal just isn't powerful. Like Alien X is above Hal. He's not powerful enough to kill Alien X. Alien X is roughly universe level. He survived the destruction of the universe and then recreated it. And he's battled the Galactic Gladiator, another celestial sapien, so that kind of confirms that he's consistently at that level. Green Lantern has a couple of universal feats. He contained the universe-destroying U-bomb, which is M6, Gerardo. The Green Lantern number 6 from the current run, which is really good. I highly recommend it. So this U-bomb was going to cause all matter in the universe to bind to a compressed quark instantaneously, destroy the entire universe. Hal was able to stop that. Now, he needed, in this instance, he needed power from the central power battery to do that, but as we've shown in his fight against Krona, he can, on his own, overpower the embodiment of willpower in the entire universe, which is what powers the central power battery. So, at his best, he can match that. He's also matched Dr. Polaris's control of the magnetic force of the entire universe. This is M7, Gerardo.
More panels. Wow.
yeah, dude.
All right.
Here,
Oh,
this
so
is-
many.
This is good
Yes.
research here.
Yeah. And they, even the description describes them as having almost limitless power. They compare each other. Magnetic might of the universe itself. He later says that it's the force that holds the universe together. So
It's one of these panels.
Yes.
DC does this a lot, where they're
Yeah.
like the whole multiverse trembled as
Yeah, exactly.
the power of this thing exploded
Chapter
planets
coming.
around them. Thor's had it, Superman's had it, Wonder Woman's had it. They're all like crazy powerful for
Right.
yeah, he's also
strange reasons, but we can't ignore that.
yeah,
in
exactly.
Death
I mean, it's absurd, but like due to the nature of Green Lantern, like his ring is only limited by in his imagination and his willpower and the 24-hour time limit. So
And he has more willpower than willpower.
He's also fought and hurt Captain Atom, who could create and destroy a universe in a nanosecond. This is M8A, Gerardo. When they reference the destruction of the... Yeah. Yep. So he's created and destroyed a universe, and I forget if it says here that he does it in a nanosecond.
He couldn't bring the dog back to life.
in a nanosecond, you destroyed the universe and then recreated exactly the same, except that this time in this world, the dog lived. Just the way you said it did.
A character, so Hal's fought a character that can create and destroy a universe, and for the exact panel where he fights him, that's going to be M8, just regular M8. That sounds an awful lot like someone we know, like maybe Alien X. So, yeah, Hal's very consistent. He's also scales to Kyle, who stopped the Big Bang. And this Big Bang, is really brief because we brought this up. The DC universe is larger. Its diameter is at least 200 trillion light years, which is much larger than ours. The energy that would be required to create a universe, the total mass energy of a universe that size, would be about 10 billion times more than ours, which means that Kyle was able to produce about 10 billion times more energy to stop that Big Bang than creating a regular universe like the one that Alien X did. Hal scales to Kyle because he's, has more willpower than any Green Lantern. And Kyle was actually present in the fight against Krona and was not able to kill Krona while Hal was able to. So yeah, Hal could, at his best, produce roughly 10 billion times more energy than Alien X did in his best feat. So yeah, in terms of power, they're either even or advantage Green Lantern. So that's a real rough rundown of, they're both universe level. So they could, yes, Hal could kill Alien X.
Holy shit, dude.
Good job.
Turning the page.
Yeah,
I do my research.
we're getting a standing
Yeah.
ovation from our...
I'm sorry that took so
crew.
long.
That's okay. Hey, here's what's going on.
Well,
No, you're going.
hang on. So, just to wrap this up, yeah, thank you, Liam, for being so prepared for that. Like, this has been, as we said at the beginning of the show, like, this is easily the most controversial episode we've had in a long time. And for good reason. Like, the characters are very complicated, and it's, again, one of DC's super high, top-tier characters who is just unbelievably more powerful than we ever could have expected going into this.
Than most people know and will ever know.
Yeah. So, God damn it! This DC streak has got to end. It's got to end. Damn it! But like again, we've said this numerous times. We don't stack episodes in a way that like sets up a streak or ending a streak.
I thought Ben 10 would win when I first started
going into
research.
this. I thought that the same. I was expecting this to end the streak, but you know, whenever we bring another DC character in, it's.
You never know.
I don't know. Like maybe it'll end the streak, maybe it won't. We're not gonna necessarily try to set it up so it does end it specifically to try to like. We're not here to manipulate you guys or anything like that, or to make you. That's one of the weird things about Death Battle is the fact that it is naturally a show that is going to set up these kind of scenarios where people kind of feel bummed about a certain thing, and if we try to manipulate that, I feel like. We're just gonna go down a dark path that starts to turn Death Battle into something it isn't.
Yeah.
Right, and the whole purpose of the show is just to take an unbiased look at all this stuff and determine to the best of our ability who we think would win.
Yes.
There's
That's
no
all it is.
profit or reward or anything in us trying to make a character win over another one. That's the thing that I'll
Come
just
on,
never
Chad.
understand.
Obviously, DC Comics pays us off.
That's just the thing. It's just like there's no reason for us to do that. The whole reason the show was created was to help find out who would win and answer these questions to the best of our ability. So like that's what we do. And clearly we've done our research for a long time and we've brought in people who also do their research.
Jesus Christ. I'm looking at the chat. Everybody is very impressed, Liam. Like, good
Thank you.
job.
Great. Yeah, spread the word when this episode goes up. I would love to see if we could turn that dislike ratio around. How funny would that be? There's no way in hell.
I was thinking about that. I was like,
one
that's
of
not gonna
the only problems about us waiting
Jesus
to do the
Christ,
Q&A
calm
until
down.
later on
Yeah.
is that like a week has gone by the time this hits YouTube.
Yeah.
Which if you're watching this live and you didn't tune in at the beginning, you might have missed some of the questions being answered. So definitely check this out on YouTube when it goes up on Thursday. Having it go out so late, I totally understand that there's going to be a large section of the fandom that is just they've made up their minds.
Yeah.
They're not going to bother watching this episode.
Most
Whatever.
of the
But hey, spread the
angry
word.
mob has put their torches down and been distracted by something
else
Like,
to be angry about.
Back to Game of Thrones and watch.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah.
I was heartbroken.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well,
Now,
hey, what's going on?
Oh wow, the Sonic movie's delayed, just
I
like
got
this segment.
Son of a bitch. I was just like, Sonic got delayed because people bitched, and now the animators have more time. It comes out next year. That's it. Community Death Battle.
Yay!
that's exactly what I was
We should do Hermione versus Juggernaut at some point.
We
We did it in a community death
No,
battle.
you mean the real one?
like an So I've wanted to do a
We've talked about this.
rejected Death Battles episode before, where we pit like Goku versus Ryu matchups like that.
Oh,
where there's
people have
just-
suggested.
There's just no reason to have that matchup, but people, every so often do request it. And Hermione
Kool-Aid
versus
Man
Juggernaut would
versus
definitely
Macho
be in it.
Man.
That
fine.
Oh my God, we still need to do that. Like it has to happen.
Should you
All
have
right.
Ryu win?
So, oh no! Why would you say that? Why would you say that? All credibility out the window.
No.
Oh no! I hope it's understood that Goku wipes his ass with Ryu.
There's not much of a fight there to have at all.
Everything's ruined now.
Power of
Liam's a
nothingness.
fraud.
Yeah.
He thinks Ryu would beat Goku.
Oh, God.
No, and we do joke, but I do want to mention. I didn't actually mention this. That we've mentioned before that when people talk shit about Death Battle, we sometimes laugh it off, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when we're talking about that, we are talking about like the hate that we sometimes get, like people being just fucking pissed and sending us like rant videos and just threatening
Or
us
death
and things like
There's
that.
there's something to be said with like when some people in like even for this fight I've seen like people have their videos online and stuff where like and some people are just like, oh, these guys are a bunch of fucking idiots and they did it. And other ones are like, well, maybe they didn't look at this aspect as hard. It's like, those are dope. Like, we don't have any problem with people doing,
yes,
like,
absolutely.
critiquing and
They're-
asking questions. Like, that's never been an issue. It's like the ones we don't give a shit about are the ones that are just, like, complete and utter assholes. Like, if you bring up a point in a respectful manner and you're like, well, what about this? And it's like, cool, let's have a conversation.
My
if you're
personal
like, they're
favorite-
fucking idiots and dum-dums, it's like, yeah, we're just going to laugh you off and not care about you.
My
Like,
personal favorite is, I didn't watch the video, but I heard that.
yeah.
And that happens so much. Or like, I only watched the fight. I didn't really watch the research part, but like that's wrong because
Well-
and like
Yeah, and I saw a couple videos and posts about this episode that were specifically critiquing the rundowns. and how we presented the information. And that's something that's kind of rare when it comes to Death Battle responses. A lot of responses are just people ranting about the victor and that we're wrong about the victor. And at that point, I'm just like, well, we can't like take down the video and do it again or something. Like it's there.
Not with that attitude.
We chose the victor. There we go. But like critiques about the rundowns and like how we present the information and what they think would be better in terms of writing a fight and stuff. That's criticism that we can take and we can apply to future episodes. And I like seeing that kind of stuff. And that's why I said at the beginning, like, seeing the reactions and stuff is important to me. So thank you to everybody who did make those videos, who did make those posts.
Yeah.
Because that does mean something to us.
And
like,
it furthers
take that into account.
It furthers a discussion. Like because people were bringing up a lot of like salient points about Alien X and Green Lantern, I can like look at those and go, yes, well, because of this is why we did consider that. If it's like, hey, kill yourself, I'm like, my answer to that is
no.
Someday.
All right, so community death battle.
Yeah, we gotta get going.
We gotta wrap this up. And this one,
lightning round.
It's interesting. So we're doing Danny Phantom
Ghost
versus Jake Long,
Dragon.
And as always, with community death battle, we let you guys let us know who you think should win and why using hashtag DeathBattleCast. So we have an answer from Chippo Skippy for Danny Phantom. And he says, Danny would win due to his power set. He flies as fast as Jake, hits just as hard as him, but Danny can use his ice powers to fight Jake's Dragonfire. Danny also has his ghostly whale, which destroyed a city-scale force field and can topple pretty large buildings. So Danny, he's not a ghost per se. He's a person who he's not dead. He's not like an undead person. He can transform into a ghost ectoplasm person being.
Right.
He can become intangible, become invisible, things like that. Yes.
Yeah.
So he's got
Every
a bunch
Saturday
of ghost powers.
I go ghost.
And then we've got an answer for Jake Long from St. Dean Thomas, who says, this is actually a pretty close match, but Jake just barely edges out in a solid 1v1. Both hit hard and can take a beating, but Jake has better training, resists possession, lifts 25 tons, and can hit ghosts physically and with Dragonfire, as seen in the American Dragon episode titled A Ghost Story.
Interesting.
This is
That
this
was my
is the
question.
reason I wanted to do this. I've seen this requested as a death battle a lot, and I've watched a little bit of Danny Phantom. I don't know hardly anything about American Dragon. I couldn't even remember the fucking title when we brought this up last week. But I didn't know why people would want this matchup outside of it being like the Nickelodeon Disney rivalry at the time kind of thing. So I want to know, is there a possibility that Jake could affect a ghost person? And thank you to everybody who pointed out this exact
Left on
episode.
that.
That's great. Literally called A Ghost Story. So that's awesome. Like this matchup just became way more interesting to me.
Right.
Like I'm actually legitimately think this could be a really cool death battle.
Cool.
But
Absolutely.
on my side of things, the main things that stand out to me is Danny's versatility, and based on what I've seen, again, I don't know much about Jake, but his training. Because from what I've seen of Danny Phantom, he never had like super formal training, but Jake Long apparently has. So that might be, at least from what I know right now, again, if we were to do an actual death battle, we would obviously do all that research, that kind of research he did. But from what I know right now, it seems that that's the main differences here.
All right, we're going to do a short version, and I'm just going to say that my one question was answered. Can this specific type of Dragonfire hurt Ghost? Yes.
Oh, there was also,
I vote Jake Long.
I do want to point out, somebody else on another tweet mentioned that Jake Long has like heat detecting abilities.
Infrared.
Infrared,
I
yeah.
think is what it is.
So I'm not sure if Ghost Danny gives off heat.
He's really cold, isn't he?
Yeah, ghosts are cold.
That's
But he does have
that's
fire powers
something
as
that
well, so I don't know.
stupid ghost
Yeah.
hunters try and use, right?
That's true.
So I don't know. Obviously that's not how we would apply logic, but on the off the cuff, that kind of thinks like, yeah, ghost cold. Infrared work, like
Because my thing would be like, if Danny can just turn invisible, then what's Jake Long gonna do?
Yeah.
Like,
Shoot
Danny
fire
turns
all around.
invisible, goes behind him, fires ghost rays at him until he's dead.
I'm just gonna say Dragon's cooler than ghosts.
All right, Jake Long. I'm voting Jake.
Yeah, I'm going
Yep.
Jake.
So I know there's a feat. I looked this up.
Oh my! Of course, he did. Of course he did.
Where Danny flies into the atmosphere and does it flies into orbit in about 40 seconds. And it was calced to be about sub-relativistic, or Mach 17,000 something. So maybe Danny just blitzes.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm gonna go Danny.
Okay. I think I'm gonna vote Danny too. I think his versatility might be able to edge out Jake, as well as the fact that he has fought people. Just because Jake can hit him doesn't necessarily mean that he's gonna die.
I know.
Because he's fought opponents who can hit him before.
There's also an Infinity Gauntlet in Danny Phantom. It's called the Reality Gauntlet, I think. It's definitely not. I mean, I can't imagine it being standard. Like, I just wanted to point that out because I was like, oh, look, it's that again.
Interesting. All right. Well,
all right. Let's see what the poll has to say from you guys.
Holy shit.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Danny Phantom.
Not gonna lie.
Danny Phantom destroys. Now, again, that might be because people might not know that Jake Long can actually affect ghosts.
Well, also the emoji is a little better, to be honest. The dragon emoji is fucking
It's not the
subpar.
best dragon.
Trash emoji.
It's not the best dragon
Yeah,
emoji.
it's not
We need
top
like a
tier.
Cuphead dragon emoji.
Yeah.
That's a great dragon.
Yeah. All right. So the next community death battle, I'm actually going to leave up to you, Liam.
Yeah.
What do you think the next one should be?
Well, anyone that knows me online knows what my most wanted episode is. So this is not going to come as a surprise to anybody. It's going to be Alucard from Hellsing versus Dio Brando from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah.
Anime vampires.
I think we
What
did
do
DBX.
you?
of
Okay,
this.
we've talked about this so much, and we can maybe
And
talk
I
about
can
that as
answer
a
those
sudden death.
questions.
But like, fucking Alucard is insane.
Alucard is insane. That's true.
Dio's
So is
pretty
Dio.
fucking ludicrous.
I know.
Too, though.
Yeah.
Like,
But I just don't know how you kill Alucard. That's the question that I've brought up every time we talk about doing Alucard
Yes.
in Death Battle.
Yeah. Maybe
Well.
Dio has a way. I don't. Should I like answer your question? I don't know if
We'll
we
do
should
that
say
in
that for
sudden
next.
death. We can talk about it in
sudden death.
Sudden death.
All right. Cool.
Yeah, like this is another thing. Like we've seen this requested a lot of times. We're not entirely sure how it would go, just because we haven't done all the research and whatnot. We did do a DBX of it a while ago. I think Zach animated that, and it's like fucking awesome.
so cool.
Really cool fight. So
effects were
feel
so
free to
good.
check that out after this if you want. Just look
Yeah.
up Alucard versus Dio DBX. It's really cool.
Prove the viability of this episode with views. So saith I, writer man.
All right, so
All right, I will do it, but you don't get to write it.
that's probably
that
the
would
case
that would
now.
break my heart. Okay.
So Alucard Hellsing versus Dio Brando. We will have a poll on the Death Battle Twitter at Death Battle, all one word, on Thursday when this episode goes live on YouTube. So go ahead and vote for that. Let us know who you think should win and why using hashtag Death Battle Cast on Twitter, and we'll talk about that next week.
If you liked Liam's argument, go undislike that video. And click the like button.
That
I
shit
mean,
would be swell. We know you're not, but that would be swell if you did.
no, I mean I'm not gonna.
It's okay.
We don't
We're not
mind
just
that.
throwing
We're
it
not
out
going to
there,
hope
man.
for the impossible.
Throwing it out there.
Regardless of how you felt about the episode, if you have been watching this show and watched through that whole very long but very in-depth Q&A, thank you for giving us a chance. Thank you for understanding and watching us. And we hope, maybe there are a few of you who haven't watched this show before until Ben 10
Brought you here.
ruined your expectations with Ben 10, and that brought you here. So hopefully you can stick around and watch more episodes. We do this every week. Live on Tuesday. And
Usually
then on
we're
YouTube on
sillier.
Thursday.
Yeah.
Usually we go into some silly stuff and personal stories. This episode is very much a focused on this Q&A
Nerd.
because this episode is just so bizarre. And
Yeah.
and again, maybe it should have been longer. Like I've been aiming to bring our episodes to make them a little shorter than they have been. Like, and so this was one of the episodes where I was like, do we really need all this information? I don't think so. Like, people aren't gonna be that mad.
Wrong.
Wrong.
All right.
Clearly,
Thanks.
we needed some more
Cue
information.
Dramatic
Yeah.
music.
So,
'Cause, yeah. Q.
Like
Q.
we're human. We can make mistakes. Like we can.
But we didn't. Is what we're trying to say.
Yeah, we didn't.
All right. Well, if you guys can join us for sudden death as first members, please do. But we will
waving.
see you next week.
Toodaloo.
Bye.
Until then, be
Bye.
awesome.
Nice to see you.